You know, I'd like to be able to sit in a space with the Secretary of Education and say, listen, I know you're well-intentioned, but what you're doing isn't working. The world of education has not had a revolutionary approach to science education since the 1950s in the post-Sputnik era. So it hasn't worked, and that's why we need something new. We've tried changing curriculum. We've tried changing standards. We've tried electing new presidents. We've had No Child Left Behind. We've had Race to the Top, Race Around the Block, All Children Left Behind. I mean, we've had all these ridiculous ideas that are well-intentioned about how to improve education. But the only thing that we have not had a concerted focus on yet, we haven't focused yet on the culture of young people. And I argue that this is the last hurrah. You know, everything else has not worked. So let's focus on using culture as an anchor for instruction, because if this doesn't work, then we're doomed. You know, I'd like to be able to sit in a space with the Secretary of Education and say, listen, I know you're well-intentioned, but what you're doing isn't working. If you just teach the teachers about their content and you don't teach them how to understand the culture of young people and understand the realities of young people, we're creating a whole new cadre of teachers who will go into classrooms and still be ineffective. I want to talk to people who are recruiting teachers from sort of affluent backgrounds and Ivy League institutions into urban schools to say, if you don't prepare those teachers to understand the culture of young people and immerse them in hip-hop culture, they're going to fail. I want to say, look at what you've done. Look at the fact that teachers coming to these schools in urban settings work for a year or work for a year and a half or 2 years and then go on to law school. Why do you think they're unsuccessful? And then they leave and they tell these horrible or horrific stories about their experiences in urban schools, not because of the brilliance of the young people, not because of the intelligence of the young people, but because they were unequipped for understanding how to be an effective educator. Some of the most effective educators have been people of color in classrooms with young people. But some of the most ineffective educators have been people of color in classrooms with young people because they have an inherent expectation or a belief that they understand the culture. Do not ever take for granted that you understand the reality of a young person. My favorite hip hop artists are Tribe Called Quest and De-La Soul and like you know, I grew up in an era where I have a certain brand of hip hop that I love. The young people that I deal with every day and work with, they are hip-hop culture as well, but they have the artists that they attune themselves to. If I went into the classroom with my perception or my misperception of what hip-hop is, or my nostalgic perspective of what hip-hop is, I couldn't be truly a reality pedagogue. That I always have to be teaching. I always have to be learning about the culture of young people. I always have to be learning about how hip-hop evolves and transforms, because that's the beauty of the culture. That it always evolves, it always revolves, it always recreates and reforms itself in this beautiful way, but yet still ties into what makes it what it is. One thing that I have to mention is our Twitter group, HipHopEd. So every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, I have worked with a bunch of educators, Tim Jones, Emil Cook, Sam Seidel, who are amazing hip-hop educators, to create this space where anybody who's interested on the intersections of hip-hop and education can converge on Twitter and have a conversation about hip-hop. The questions can be, what is a rap cipher? Or what is a battle? Or how do I use this Jay-Z lyric in my classroom? To, you know, how does science and hip hop really connect? So every week we come up with a question, we attack it from multiple angles. We have people across the globe who are hip hop educators who come on Twitter every night to learn more about the intersections of hip hop and education. This is a movement. It's the next phase of the work of education, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. I'm Christopher Emdin, and you are watching Epiphany.